Hey everybody, Dr. Rob here. A little late, just had two webinars in a row. Whew, both overseas, had a whole bunch of fun. Want to give you some updates on COVID-19. I know that we're in Westchester County, New York, where I am. We just started phase 2, New York City phase 1. Everybody's in a different spot all over America and in different positions all over the world, but it's very clear that we are reopening. We're learning more and more about COVID-19, and a huge takeaway, what I think is we should have a discussion one time about the reflection on what we've learned from COVID-19. Well, one of the things that we've learned is, without question, there's a lifestyle component. And in that lifestyle component, it really speaks to the idea of these comorbidities, your obesity, your diabetes, your hypertension, your gut, your autoimmunity, your age, your environmental factors. We've now learned that we have aberrancy in our immune system. Not enough Americans have a potent immune system. Only about 12% of Americans are metabolically healthy, actively healthy. It's 1 in 7.5. We've also come to the realization that low testosterone leads men down a path of being more susceptible to COVID-19, and women have a more robust response to viral overload because of their estrogen and estradiol dominance. A couple of things that are made note are your genes and your blood type. So let's talk about that a little. A good article that just came out just about 3 days ago. It looked at almost 2,000 COVID-19 patients with respiratory failure from 5 cities in Spain and Italy. They did a genome study. And in that genome study in Italy, there were 835 patients in it. They used 1,255 as a control. Spain, respectively, had 775 patients and 950 as a control. Are you ready for this? They had 8,582,968 single nucleotide polymorphisms analyzed. These are all little links in your DNA chain that they were trying to see what may be aberrant. Here was the conclusion, that there is a SNP or lead SNP on chromosome 9. So the two chromosomes they found some changes were chromosome 9 and chromosome 3. Chromosome 9 they found in the ABO blood group. We talked a lot about this before. We knew that if you were blood type O, you weren't as susceptible to COVID-19. In blood type A, you were more susceptible to COVID-19. Well, in that, now we have specific numbers. On this chromosome 9, A positive, you had a 45% increased risk for respiratory failure. Whew. That is a prodigious amount. Whereas blood group O, you had a 35% decreased risk for respiratory failure. So interesting, so your blood markers, your SNPs within this chromosome actually determined your ability or inability to get COVID-19 and respiratory problems. Now, what you'll have to know about genes is that genes are not your destiny. Genes do load a gun, but they don't fire the gun. Your environment fires the gun. And I think that goes a lot to, your environment, in that your actual physical environment. We know that air pollution leads to a major problem in COVID-19. People more susceptible to death, more susceptible to sickness and illness. Within that, your environment, how many toxins that you have, which genes are you expressing? If you have a gene, there's new articles coming out that as a parent, if you have a gene, you get something called epigenetics. You're changing your gene pool and passing that on to your children. So if you were an Olympic athlete, you would think you would pass on that Olympic athlete genetics or genes to your children. But if you didn't take care of yourself, you may have changed those genes. Circling back to this chromosome and the idea of single nucleotide polymorphisms, here's a SNP on chromosome 3. So these are a cluster of genes, and it tested for severe COVID-19. So it was chromosome 3p21. The gene is SLC6A20. It encodes a transporter protein that interacts with ACE2. Fascinating in that ACE2 is your receptor site. So we all know ACE2 was the receptor site that was critical for this spike protein in COVID-19, in COVID-19 to stick. So you had more susceptibility because of chromosome 3 to have a sticky to these ACE2 receptors. Remember, lots of, a plethora, if you will, of ACE2 receptors on gut epithelial lining, in addition to gut lining, kidney lining, the parasites in the heart, etc. So taking a gene test would be a great choice to see if you have a respiratory resilience or respiratory susceptibility. So if anybody's interested, I will leave you a link. You can contact us. We work with Toolbox Genomics, and in that, we've been doing a lot of genetic testing in general with my patients and a lot of genetic testing in reference to respiratory resilience. So I've got the kit. We're going to add the link before, once I get off, because I'm on my laptop now. Before we go any further, I got a couple of questions. Sherry Myers, this is what we talked about. Wow, absolutely. It's there. Genes are something that you want to test for, because we're coming out of the COVID right now, and coming out of it, what are patients going to want to know about? Immunity. One, how can I build my immune system? How can I support my immune system? How can I get immune resilience? What is the immune system? How does it function? So a lot of docs are asking me, and we have to know this. We have to help. We have to support that. We have to balance that if we can. Additionally, when you think about it, how can we avoid it? You got to check your genes. You got to check your susceptibility. You have to see who's susceptible and who's not. I have certain susceptibilities, but because my lifestyle is such, I am not sharing or I'm expressing those susceptibilities. Genes can be rewired. Absolutely. One, genes are not your destiny because they don't have to be expressed. And two, they can be rewired. And that's very exciting. So you may want to take a gene test just to determine where you are as a starting point. More so than that, you want to take a gene test because maybe you don't want to have a compromised immune system. Now, lastly, in the lungs, it also showed there was a protein to test for, which is sodium ilamyl acid transporter 1, SIT1, which is mainly expressed in pneumocytes, and the authors think these cells should be investigated for any involvement that SIRT1 may have in viral entry. So once again, taking these tests are a great choice. They're really going to set you up to determine your susceptibility and your resilience. So if you're interested, it's respiratory resilience, that being the gene test toolbox. I'll give you the link. We're on every day. We're trying to keep them a little shorter. We know you're back at work, so we're trying to limit them to 10 minutes. I'm going to have some guests on in the next week or two. I'll announce that. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to share those right now. If not, if you could, please like, comment, share, get this information out. There is a gene component. There's a gene test to see if you're more susceptible to respiratory injuries and COVID-19. Dr. Rob, it's always my pleasure. Always yours in health.